What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Behind Show. Today is July 16th, 2021, and this is the first ever live episode of 30 Minute Drill. And on these episodes, I'm joined by my co-host, Braden Short. How you doing today, Braden?
What's up? I'm good. Just glad to be back streaming with you. First live episode, big time.
Yeah, this is the first live episode, so you can ask questions and everything like that. And, we have a lot to talk about. We recently asked some questions on the past couple weeks for this episode. So this episode is going to be more of a Q&A. So there's different random questions here. The first one actually is, do you prefer Skyline chili or Goldstar? I'll let you answer that one first.
I mean, no question, Skyline chili is superior to Goldstar. Goldstar is nasty. Not really even any debate about it, in my opinion, at all. Like, none.
I really don't think there is either. I mean, Skyline is good. Goldstar isn't bad, but I just think the sauce with the cheese combination with Skyline is just superior to Goldstar. I actually did a voting because I was interested in this question as well, and I did a poll. It was Skyline against Goldstar, and 88% of people picked Skyline as the winner. I was not shocked that Goldstar won, but I was kind of surprised that how much they won by. And another question here is we kind of talk about random topics, on the show. We'll talk about food, sports, movies, shows, everything like that. And another question here is the best Bengals wide receiver. Which Bengals wide receiver had the best 2021 season?
I still think it's going to end up being Tyler Boyd. I don't know. I still think that Boyd's the best wide receiver we have. I mean, I think it's either going to be Boyd or T. Higgins. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know, and I really don't have a reason. It's just the feeling in my body. I mean, we had three wide receivers who could all go crazy at any time that all have got chemistry with Joe Burrow already. I mean, T. Higgins started to turn it on. And then, I mean, Tyler Boyd's always been a top Bengal wide receiver, but then you got Jamar Chase coming back and reuniting with Joe Burrow. So, I mean, I honestly don't know the answer to that question yet. I think as we move on towards the season and you're able to kind of see preseason more, you maybe have a better of an idea, but I think it's up in the air. It could be anybody at this point.
I mean, we have one of the best wide receiver trios in the league. I don't think that's even debatable. I mean, we have Boyd, who I would say is tied for the most underrated wide receiver in the league, along with DJ Moore for the Panthers. We have Higgins, who was a breakout star last season. Then Chase, who is clearly the best wide receiver coming out of the draft. Any of those three guys are capable of having a 1,000-yard season. I would not be shocked at all. Honestly, if all three of those guys had 1,000-yard seasons, I wouldn't be surprised if Chase led the team in receiving yards. I think it is possible, but it's just really hard to bet against Tyler Boyd. I mean, I know the chemistry between Chase and Burrow at LSU, but Boyd's consistently been one of the best receivers in the league for the past couple of seasons. I also think with Chase, people know what you're going to get more to Chase opposed to Boyd because, I mean, Chase pretty much has unlimited potential. He's the best wide receiver prospect we've seen in a while. And I'd have to go with Boyd, but honestly, any of the three, I mean, I wouldn't really be surprised with, honestly. So another question here is, this is a very interesting question. Some Bengal fans are not sold on Zach Taylor. I'll go ahead and let you answer this question. Is Zach Taylor the right guy for Cincy?
I mean, is it right if I would say that I honestly don't know the answer to this question? I mean, I don't know the answer to this question. I mean, the last year, a coach can't win with an offensive line that he was given like that last year. I mean, I honestly don't know the answer to that question. But with the way how the offensive line was, I mean, you've seen our offense had good stretches, but our defense was also bad. So I don't know. I don't know. I honestly can't answer that question too. I think we'll know better at the end of this year. And if we don't have a winning season this year, I don't think there's any way that you could possibly keep him as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals if we have a bad year this year.
Every single time I look at our record prediction, I keep going back to 7, 8, possibly 9 wins. And with Taylor, I don't think he's the right guy, honestly. And I know I'm one of the few Bengal fans who've been outspoken about that. I know he's shown some potential as a head coach, especially more so offensive play caller rather than a head coach. But it's the fact that I know we have lots of one-possession losses, but there has to be a point in time where you have to stop making excuses for 1-point losses. You almost won, but you didn't win. It's as simple as that. And to me, I think we will kind of figure out if Zach Taylor is the right guy for Cincy at the end of the season. I keep going back to it. I've said it recently I was on a podcast just yesterday. I said if Zach Taylor does not get 7 wins, he 1,000,000% has to go. I think this team is capable of having 7, 8, 9 wins, but if we can't even get 7, I think it's time for Taylor to go, especially with the offense we have and like Burrow, Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Higgins, Chase, all the guys coming back from injury and a decent draft and a decent free agency. There's really no reason why we shouldn't get under 7 wins, honestly. And kind of staying on the Bengals topic here, this one is honestly debatable, and I think it's much closer than people think. Burrow or Herbert, clearly you're already stating you have on that one, but have any more thoughts on it?
I do think it's close to what people think, but I think Joe Burrow, I think if he wouldn't have got hurt, he would have been, in no doubt in my mind, the offensive rookie of the year. And I think that this year, I think he's going to win comeback player of the year, as I've stated before. I still think he's better than Justin Herbert. Herbert, in my opinion, had last year the better team of the two with the offensive line that Herbert had. I felt like it wasn't much better than the Bengals, I guess, but still felt like I think that last year Marshall University had a better offensive line than the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's my thoughts on that. I really don't have too much more of my thoughts on it, but I think Joe Burrow's better. I've always thought Joe Burrow was better. And whenever people were where we had a number 1 pick and people were saying that we should have took Justin Herbert before Joe Burrow, I said, no way. Joe Burrow all the way.
Yeah, I was definitely not one of those guys who wanted Burrow over Herbert, but if we traded back, I wanted Herbert and not Tua. I know some people like Tua, but to me, obviously the top 2 guys are Burrow and Herbert, and you said you'd rather have Marshall's offensive line than the Bengals. I'd rather have Marshall's offensive line last year than the Chargers' offensive line last year. The Chargers' offensive line was horrendous, and it was arguably worse than the Bengals. And you look at Herbert, he doesn't have Higgins, he doesn't have Boyd, and he doesn't have Mixon. I know Mixon didn't play a ton of games, but it's debatable. I would pick Burrow. I am going to be a tad bit biased on this, but if somebody says Herbert, I have no issues with it because honestly, these are going to be some of the best quarterbacks in the league for a long time. Both got skills. You don't lose either way. Going to South, basically, yeah, exactly. These Herbert and Burrow will be the top quarterbacks in the league, especially the AFC, for the next decade. They're going to be absolute stars. It is kind of too early to tell who you'd rather have right now, though. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Burrow. But I think it's super close, but it is definitely debatable.
Once again, of course, I got biased because I'm a Bengals fan, and Joe Burrow's from the 740 and from Southeastern Ohio. So I seen him play in high school, so I got the Joe Burrow bias, of course. So, like I said, it's close, but I'm still taking Joe Burrow just because he's an Ohio boy. Like I said, seen him play in high school, and he's from the same, more as other areas us. The Bengals have posted clips before of him playing high school basketball in Chesapeake's gym. So, I'm going to have bias just because he's more as, I guess, a local guy and, yeah, just the Cincinnati Bengal. Regardless of wherever he would be, I would still be a fan of him. But like I said, I'm going to have bias there.
Yeah, you mentioned the Chesapeake video. I was watching, I don't remember what it was called, Bucky Brooks's, and bless you for being a Bengals fan. Yeah, it absolutely sucks. It's torture, but hopefully one day, might not be this year, next year, the year after, we win a Super Bowl. But right now, we're just kind of hoping for a playoff win. Baby steps. But yeah, it's not fun being a Bengals fan. There's lots of pain. It's like kind of a Cubs fan type of deal. There's always next year at that standpoint. But you mentioned Burrow. Going back to Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah, Move the Sticks. That was, their draft podcast, and it was on last year NFL Network. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, what you just said with Joe Burrow. He's playing against Chesapeake's high school gym. That's where we went to school. It's crazy because a guy kind of locally, about an hour and a half away, is coming to like the start of the NFL in a way.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny, honestly. So at the Beast of the Southeast, that's a tournament that they were playing, and it's a tournament that Chesapeake holds, like Fairland and other schools from around the area will come to. And I opened up the program, and I was looking at the game MVPs of like the games that they had, and it was like back to 2013 and 14. And I think it was, I can't remember the years to be exact, but it said the MVP was Athens, Joe Burrow, and then Athens, Joe Burrow. So he won it 2 years in a row, I think. But it's just crazy to see that. And then, of course, he actually played against my cousin in high school. Athens came down to play Fairland High School in Parkville, Ohio. So that was cool to see Joe Burrow play. Of course, you knew Joe Burrow was good, but I mean, you didn't imagine at the time you'll be watching the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, the the season leader in passing touchdowns in a season for the NCAA, and the future starting quarterback of your favorite NFL team, the Cincinnati Bengals. You could just never imagine that it would have turned out like that. But I'm happy for Joe Burrow, and it's big for our area that he's where he is, I feel.
No, I did not know that, he played against your cousin in high school.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's super cool. And, something else, I was talking to my uncle years ago. He's a big Ohio State fan. He was telling me, there's this, quarterback from Athens who committed to Ohio State. I'm like, really? That's really cool because, Athens, I don't think people realize Athens is not as big as people think it is. It's not a huge population. And, Burrow's, all of a sudden, he's our starting quarterback. He's our future number one pick. Heisman winner. Debatably the best quarterback of all time in college. That is certainly debatable. But a national champion and just a guy from an hour and a half away from here.
I would say that he may have one of the best football seasons. Not the best football career, but one of the greatest college football seasons of all time with his season at LSU.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's the best season ever.
Probably hoping Marvin Lewis would come back. LOL, kidding. But I'll say that at least my Cubs finally got one. I was starting to believe I would die before they won. Well, I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan also, so, there's a lot of heartbreak with that team, so I'm not even going to go into that. But needless to say, I've not really seen any of my professional sports teams with any playoff luck, so there's that.
The Reds and the Bengals. The Bengals playoff win, the last playoff win compared to the last Reds playoff series win, I did that's like 40 or 50 years. Like it's something absolutely insane. And only us, Cincinnati fans get to live with. I know there's Cleveland, but at the same time, years ago they had Jim Brown. They've had the Indians who've been in the World Series recently, and they had LeBron. We don't have anybody. I guess we have Pete Rose in a way, but that's somebody I'm not really proud to say that he's a part of us. I'm not a big baseball guy.
Put Pete in the Hall of Fame. Put Pete in the Hall of Fame. That's what I got to say about that.
I don't disagree, but I feel like we both know he's not going to get in the Hall of Fame until he dies, unfortunately.
Yeah,
unfortunately. It sucks, though, because one of the best hitters of all time, but, a stupid decision, and he's not going to see his shining moment.
We're not even going to go in that discussion because I could have a whole entire hour debate about that, but I'm not going to. I actually wrote a paper about that once.
What grade did you get on it?
I honestly can't remember what I got on it. It was forever ago. It was I think it was back in middle school whenever we had to write those little stupid poems or the essays in our, not the poems, the essays in our journal books in Miss Schwamberger's class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One time we got to free write, so mine was about Pete Rose and how he should be in the Hall of Fame. So I don't really think the person that read my journal really cared. I'm sure who was the person that read my journal, but we're not gonna say it out loud. But exactly who was reading the journal. And we're gonna end the conversation at that.
One more thing. A year later, in 8th grade, I did kind of like a free writing thing in Ms. Pinkerman's class. Of all the things to talk about, and of all the things to write, I write some stupid paragraph, some like a page long, like 20, 30 some lines. And it was around draft time. And it was me comparing Raheem Cato to Russell Wilson. I'm like a freaking draft scout. Well, they're very similar in style of play and size. And nobody said Russell Wilson could play in the NFL. But he's won a Super Bowl. Raheem Cato, people don't think he can be in the NFL. He's going to prove people wrong. I completely forgot about that. It was only worth 10 points, so she gave me a 10 just because I finished it. But that was not some of my best work.
Oh gosh.
Of all the stuff to write, I do not think that would be top of the list.
Well, who was it that Kuiper said that he was going to turn out to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? What was that?
I don't know.
Oh, I can't. His name's. If anybody that's listening can think of it, but that's still, in my opinion, the funniest draft moment in the history of the whole entire NFL draft is Mel Kiper saying that. Was Jimmy Clausen?
Don't think. I'm
I
not for sure.
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly who it was. But that reminds me of that exact moment.
But I loved Rakeem Cato at Marshall, like Mel Kiper Jr. Loved Josh Allen at the coming of the draft. Like it was not a man crush, but you love to watch him play. But that writing was just very interesting. Looking back, that was definitely one of my more stupid writings. And we were kind of talking about local places. We're talking about Joe Burrow playing around here, and around here we were asked our favorite pizza place. And what is your? I mean, I don't know why I'm even asking you because we literally just ate it like an hour ago. But I mean, what's your favorite pizza place?
Romeo's Pizza. I mean, I'm looking at the pizza box right now, so yeah, definitely, most definitely, best pizza place in my opinion.
What's going on, Mike? We're talking about random questions. Questions asked by the listeners. I mean, you mentioned Romeo's as the best pizza place. It's not debatable. I mean, with the fair going on this week, they get a ton of recognition that they definitely deserve because they're the best pizza place around here. And just in general, their sauce and everything is just on point. They are amazing. And it kind of sucks because I was talking to somebody last week. They've lived in Huntington for the past 20, 30 years. They've never ate at Romeo's.
Yeah. A lot of people actually from Huntington don't even know Romeo's existed, but anybody in Proctorville and Chesapeake almost, I mean, they know, but
yeah, I definitely think Romeo's is the best place. I mean, it's hands down. I mean, it's not even really debatable. So Mike asked, in your opinion, what was the best move the Bengals made so far? The draft, free agency, or signing a trade? I'll let you answer that one first.
I mean, I think it's obvious the best move was adding offensive line and taking Riley Reef. I mean, that's what the Bengals offensive line needed. It replaced Bobby Hart, so I mean, regardless of if there was other moves or not, that was such a vital part of making the Bengals better that you had to get rid of Bobby Hart. So I mean, that's for sure, in my opinion, probably the best move the Bengals made.
That's a good answer, and that's a really good question because I feel like Bengal fans are really going to have mixed feelings. But I know some people would say Chase. I know some people would say Trey Hendrickson, which honestly I think Trey Hendrickson is easily one of the worst signings of free agency. I might say Riley Reef, but for the sake of being different, I'll say Mike Hilton.
Yep.
I love that signing. 4 years, around $24 million, replacing Mackenzie Alexander. I mean, he's a former Steeler, and looking at some of his tweets and Instagram posts, he wants revenge against Pittsburgh. I think he's going to be a star, in our secondary. He's going to be a key piece of our defense, whether it's Zach Taylor as the head coach or whoever the head coach is. I think Mike Hilton's going to be one of those guys for the next couple of years. He's going to be one of our best players in defense. And I honestly think that's one of the more underrated signings, honestly, for the Bengals in free agency and everything.
Yeah, I also like the addition of Ricardo Allen just depth wise. I mean, I think that the Bengals have probably now the best whole entire safety core in the NFL. I mean, Jesse Bates and Von Bell, I don't think it's a question at all. I think that they have the best safety duo in the league.
I'm not trying to be biased, and I try my best not to be biased, but it's not really much debatable. Jesse Bates is the best safety in the league. It's not biased. Look at the stats and look at everything, the PFF and all that stuff. Best safety in the league. Von Bell was one of the most underrated signings last season, and I said it once we signed him. The hit against Juju Smith was one of my favorite plays. I mean, us being Bengals fans, you would think, for a normal team, our favorite play was the kick to win the Super Bowl or a catch to win the Super Bowl. One of my favorite plays for the favorite team is just a random hit on Monday Night Football.
I mean, honestly, if I'm being truly honest with you, he could have done nothing that whole entire season, and just that play would have just made it a million times better. Like he could have been horrible the whole year, but if he would have made that play, it would have been worth it just signing him, just to see Juju Smith-Schuster, who is probably the player in the NFL I dislike the most. But it was nice to see that hit and get the revenge.
Dude, I know you're a big Chargers fan. You have Derwin James coming for his throne. The thing about Derwin James is, I'm not saying he's a top 5 safety, definitely in my opinion. But the fact about Derwin James is, I feel like he has to stay on the field, and it's really difficult for Derwin James to be the best safety in the league when it seems like he's constantly being hurt the last couple of seasons. But Derwin James to me is definitely top 5. My top 3 would probably, top 4 or 5 would be not in order. Bates, Micah Fitzpatrick, Jamal Adams, Derwin James, and I don't know who my other one would be, but Derwin James is definitely up there. Joe Burrow's season stat predictions for the 17-game, regular season, and it's a lot different with that extra game opposed to other years. It seems like I feel like Joe Burrow's stats will be much more than it would be last season if we play healthy, especially with all the weapons we have now. So, what would your stat prediction be?
I got to think about that honestly, because I totally forgot that there was a 17-game season this year. It's still weird to hear we're playing 17 games this year, and that you got to throw in additional wear and tear on players. Somehow, if the Bengals get good enough to get they play a team like the Chiefs that possibly rest a few guys or something. I know they played them close into the season, so who knows how it turns out. I could see him, honestly, non-biased, being around the top 5 passer in the league. How many ever yards it is, I'm not too sure. There's too many red flags to put a stat to it already. It could depend on whether Jamar Chase comes out and is productive or not, if he's actually able to stay healthy, hopefully, and he's able to stay upright and not watch half the game from his butt because he's been taken down so many times. So, I'm not going to put a number on that yet if you're okay with that. I honestly truly do not know. There's too many question marks coming into it. I know we're saying he's going to be ready for week 1, but there's always that chance that something could happen in his rehab that pushes him back a little bit still, and he's not full 100% for game 1. So I'm not going to put anything, but I do think he's going to be top 5 in yards and top 5 in touchdowns.
It's really interesting because that extra game just has a huge factor, because think about it. If you're throwing for 200 yards a game, which honestly is not good for a quarterback, that's still 3,200 passing yards. With the extra game now, you throw for 200, that's 3,400. I'm going to say around 3,927 passing touchdowns, 6 rushing, and 11 interceptions. There are maybe 200 rushing yards or something like that. And I just feel like the weapons and the improved offensive line, because the offensive line is much better than people think now, in my opinion. It's not great by any means. I say it's about average, but I just feel like with Burrow, I feel like he's going to have a breakout year, and I feel like he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this season. Quarterback-wise, I think he's capable of playing. I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm saying capable of playing as the best quarterback in the AFC North. And I know that might be a wild take, but I think it's possible.
I think he's the second, but I think he's better than Baker Mayfield and Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not ready to say he's as dominant as Lamar Jackson yet, just because Lamar Jackson I feel like he can throw. I know you're not a big fan of Lamar Jackson, but I am a big fan of Lamar Jackson. I absolutely love to watch Lamar Jackson play, and he's, in my opinion, the most dynamic quarterback in the NFL because of his ability to run and his still ability to throw out of the pocket.
And so Mike asked, who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs, in the AFC?
I think I know who your answer is going to be to this.
Who?
You're going to say the Browns?
That's the only answer.
I hate to say it because they're AFC North team and a competitor, but I truly think that the Browns are the biggest threat. I think they got probably the second best roster in the AFC, and I think they could beat the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs do. They still. It's close, but they added. They added offensive line in free agency. They got Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I
feel like the main
Travis Kelce. I don't know how I forgot Kelce, but
the thing that separates the Chiefs and the Browns the most, it's quarterback play. Because I feel like if Mahomes was on the Browns, they would have won. They were capable of winning the Super Bowl last season. But if you put Mayfield on the Chiefs, they're not going to be quite as good. But, that's a really good question. And, if you're tuning in, it's the first time you've seen 30-minute drill. We kind of just talk about random stuff.
Hold on. I want to say one last thing. And I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback at all. I just think inconsistency in his play is what kills him.
100%.
I mean, like, he'll have one game where he looks like he could be a top NFL or top quarterback in NFL against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, he torched us, right? He looked like he was good. And then, like, the next week or, like, 2 weeks after, he just looked like another just Joe Schmo out there. I mean, now Baker Mayfield could play every week like that, which I know it's hard for him to do, like, but maybe even, like, every 5 weeks he's playing dominant and then has just, like, one just mediocre week. I think that would make the Browns better. But, yeah, solid inconsistencies is what I feel like Baker Mayfield needs to get a little bit better on.
I feel like a Mayfield's just consistent. He doesn't have to be great. He doesn't have to be horrible.
Yep.
Just average, turnover-free football, 220 passing yards a game. Just something like that. Touchdown or two. The Browns, the team to beat in the AFC. If I'm having to put money on it right now, I want to take the Browns over the Chiefs in the AFC. I mean, we can talk about that for another time. But I definitely think that will happen as of right now. But, this was your first time watching 30-minute drill. On 30-minute drill, we really talk about just random stuff and, sports, movies, shows, everything like that. And, we all do it in less than 30 minutes or less. And let's see here. Last one, way too early Super Bowl.
Man, I'm still going with TB12. I will never bet against TB12. And I'm going to take TB12, and I'm going to go with a solid, bold move. And Mr. Alex Jones, if you're listening to this, or Mike Villagrano, I'm taking your Cleveland Browns to the Super Bowl to play against TB12.
I have to take the Browns. I know I sound crazy. It's just their roster is too good. And it's the fact, like, if they didn't have as good of a roster, that means Mayfield would have to elevate their team. But with the talent that Mayfield has on Cleveland, he doesn't have to elevate the team. The team can elevate him, if that makes sense. I'm taking Cleveland in the AFC, which is something I never thought I would say. And in the NFC, you say Chiefs and Rams. I keep going back between the Buccaneers and the Rams. Those are the only two teams in the NFC that make any sense at all. I know there's other teams in the NFC. I've seen a couple of people freaking have the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think it's more likely. Well, no, I was going to say something, but that would be a bad take. But I would have to say,
we're not going to have any Skip Bayless takes on that.
I would have to say the Browns and the Buccaneers, but I would not be shocked at all if it was the Rams. I think the Browns are capable of being in the Super Bowl.
I can't bet against TB12, and they have the same roster as last year, so I'm not going against TB12. Tom Brady, to me, is the greatest quarterback of all time. So
this was the first ever live edition of 30-Minute Drill, where we talk about, TV shows, sports, food, whatever, just random stuff that pops into our head. And, that kind of concludes this episode, because all of our episodes are 30 minutes or less. So, Braden, can you tell some of our listeners to follow you on social media?
Yeah, real quick, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @the__short.
Make sure to follow him on Twitter and Instagram. I'll put the links in the description below. And you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter as well, The Sports Dude Hines Show. Make sure to like this video. If you can subscribe to the channel, we really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time on The Sports Dude Hines Show.